So we mentioned yesterday in the sixth Mishnah of the second chapter, the case for someone who's betrothed, someone's given kiddushin to one of two sisters, and he doesn't remember which one. And the halacha, it's an impossible situation because marrying two sisters is forbidden. So, for example, he couldn't give kiddushin, perhaps he could just give kiddushin to the other one or to both of them. He can't do that. He can't marry two sisters. He doesn't know which one. They're both forbidden to him. So he has to give a get to both. And if they died and he has a brother, then the brother has to perform chalitza for both of them. Because again, the brother can't have relationships with two sisters. And however, we learned that if the deceased person has two brothers, one could perform chalitza and the other could perform yibum. Because as soon as one of them performs chalitza, then that bond is broken. And by the way, if the two brothers went ahead and married the two sisters, we don't send them away. So we learned this yesterday. Now the Mishnah is going to go through the same argumentation, but in a slightly more complex fashion, because now there are going to be two men involved. And we're going to call them, what are we going to call them? I think we're going to call them, just to make clear, they're not brothers. We're going to call them Bill and Reuven. We're going to call them Bill and Reuven, and they're not brothers, but they have betrothed two sisters, and they can't remember. It's the same situation. I don't think the situation is comic. I think that the Mishnah is trying to articulate boundary conditions, test conditions. We've seen this before in the Mishnah, actually. The Mishnah likes to articulate a test condition. So here we go. Shnaim shekichu shtei achayot, ze eno yodea la'ezer kidesh, v'ze eno yodea la'ezer kidesh. Two men betrothed two sisters, and neither one knows to whom he is betrothed. What do? Ze noten shnei gitim, v'ze noten shnei gitim. They must both give two gitim. They both have to give two divorce documents. There's no other way around it. And we can kind of puzzle, and we can figure this out actually for ourselves. We're not surprised by that. And again, we've already learned that although the Mishnah of Yevamot seems to be outlining the halacha, the practice, relating to levirate marriage, what it is doing in practice is outlining the definition of marriage. So as we on the way, if you like, we might think we're learning about yibum, about levirate marriage, but actually we're learning about marriage in general, what is forbidden, what is permitted. And this is necessary in order to proceed to the next tractate, which is Ketubot, which actually is going to outline the laws relating to how men and women behave towards each other in a marriage. So we're beginning, if you like, by outlining the boundaries. Okay, so they give two gets each. Metu, they died. They both died. Maybe they both died in a traffic accident or in a war. Maybe they both died in a war. Metu, this is why this is a current issue today. It's going to be very current very soon. Metu, they both died. Lezeh ach echad, lezeh ach velazeh ach. They died. This one has a brother, that one has a brother. We call their brothers maybe Fred and Shimon. Zeh choletz l'shteihem, v'zeh choletz l'shteihem. This brother performs chalitza for both widows. This brother performs chalitza for both widows. It's exactly the same situation that we saw in the case of one man who marries both of these women and can't remember which one. Now it gets interesting. Lazeh echad ve'lazeh shnaim. This one has got a single brother. And that one has got two brothers. Let's go back to the picture. This is the picture we started to draw in. So we've got Bill and Reuven, who've married Leah and Rachel, but they can't remember. can't actually remember which one they married, right? So Bill might be married to Leah, or he might be married to Rachel, and vice versa. And Reuven has two brothers. We're going to call them Shimon and Levi. So Reuven has got two brothers. And of course, Shimon and Levi can't do Yibum because Shimon and Levi are perhaps connected both to Rachel and to Leah. It doesn't work. We got these impossible relationships of Yibum. We don't know what to do with this. So how's it going to work? How's it going to work? So one has a single brother and the other's got two brothers. Well, the single brother performs chalitza for both widows. That's pretty clear. I think we kind of understand that. Vehashnaim, and as far as the two is concerned, echad choletz ve'echad miyabem. One can perform chalitza and the other can perform yibum. Because as soon as one has performed chalitza, this bond, this impossible bond to two sisters is broken. And that means the second one can perform yibum. And that's essentially what I've tried to draw out on the right-hand side. So Shimon can perform chalitza on for Rachel, and at that point, Levi can perform yibum. Shimon can perform chalitza for Leah, and then at that point, Levi can perform yibum for Rachel if she wants. Obviously, they can both perform. They can both perform chalitza if they want. And if they went ahead and married, we don't send them away. We don't make them go out. And then the Mishnah continues with the logical conclusion: if they both had two brothers, if they both had two brothers, lazeshnaim velazeshnaim, they both had two brothers. Achiv shelazeh choletz lachat. If they had two brothers, this one's brother performs chalitza for one, and the other one's brother performs chalitza for the other. So both women receive chalitza, but from different relationships. One brother can then perform yibum for the one who's been released by the other one. And the second brother can perform yibum for the one who's been released by the first one. So it's possible in that situation for both of them to receive yibum. Kadmush, if they wish to. Kadmush naim bechaltsu, if both of them went ahead and married them. Lo yevamu hashnaim ela echad choletz vechal yabem. If two went ahead and performed chalitza, the other two mustn't perform yibum. Rather, one performs chalitza and the other may also have yibum. If we still need one of them to perform chalitza for the other one to have yibum. If they went ahead and got married, we actually don't make them send them away. This will be in contrast to other kinds of forbidden marriages. So the Mishnah then rushes on. Mitzvah gadol liyabem. The commandment of yibum is on the elder. This is if there are two brothers. The elder one really has the responsibility for yibum. Ve'im kadam hakaton zacha. Ve'im kadam hakaton zacha. If the younger one went ahead and performed yibum, that is okay. He essentially he becomes the husband of the widow. He becomes the husband. Someone who's claimed to have a relationship with a slave. This is a female slave, a maidservant. And then she was freed. She became a free woman. The language hanitan here is very interesting. So the suggestion is that there's no proof, and there's in generally speaking, when there's a relationship with this kind, there isn't proof, right? Because in order to have proof, you'd have to have witnesses. There's no proof. But hanitan, means someone who's claimed, and this is probably a serious claim. This is not just a kind of a rumor floating around the marketplace, but if there's someone who is claimed to have a relationship with a maidservant and she becomes free, that's a forbidden relationship. Or ahanochrit venit gaira, or with a non-Jewish woman who then converted. Harei lo yichnos. He must not marry her. He must not marry her first, either because it reinforces the prohibition against a relationship against it. Again, it's either because it seems to reinforce the rumor that he's had a relationship with these women who were forbidden to him, or perhaps because it raises questions about, certainly in the case of the giur, in case of the conversion, it raises questions about motives for the conversion. So the halacha is that he shouldn't marry her. Ve'im kanas, but if he did marry her, ein motzi'in miyado, we don't actually force him to divorce her. And there's a famous tshuva on this subject from the Rambam about someone who was living with his maidservant, and then I think he either free, it's either I think it's a maidservant, he freed her, she became Jewish, he wants to marry her, he actually already has children by her. So there's absolutely no doubt that he had a relationship with her because she has children from him. But the Rambam notices, he understands that forcing him to divorce her would essentially break up this family and take the children away from their father. So the Maimonides allows him to maintain the relationship with his wife based on this Mishnah that if he has married her, we don't send her away. Hanitana like ish al eshet ish, someone who's claimed to have a relationship with a married woman. So this really is a forbidden relationship. V'hotziuha mitachat yado, and she then divorces. We force her to divorce. Afal pishe kanas motzio, even if he marries her, we send her away. In other words, we force him to give a bill of divorce. It's not acceptable to be accused of having a relationship with a married woman and then after her divorce to bring her into marriage.